Season 27 is only days away and holy goddamn, it is big. Olympus is getting the most changes to a map ever. Just look at it, it looks totally different. There are so many legend changes, including an insane horizon buff, and Rampart now has a roof to her walls. We have updates on ranked progression. Oh, and there's also this major thing that's about to cause Twitter to go crazy. Movement has been nerfed/changed and super glides are basically now redundant, but we'll get to that. There's also a new dual katana heirloom coming and so much more. So let's get into it. Also, big thank you to the Apex Legends team, Respawn, and the Creator Hub for the early invite to see everything coming in Season 27. Let's get it.
I ain't slept in months, y'all. I so red I can't see what's real. Roll me up a blunt, dog.
We have so much to go over in this update, from all the legend and weapon changes over to the basically whole new map that literally is insane. Really, I mean it. Here are a couple of sneak peeks of the changes. Look, orbital cannon's completely gone. Energy depot's gone. Like, what's going on with Olympus? But first, myself and a few other creators got to have a meeting with the devs where we could ask them about Season 27 and what's coming. So here's a quick fire recap of the important things from that. First up is duos. We all know the game mode got a lot of changes, now having less players in it, a faster closing ring, and hidden in its own little tab down the bottom. There is no update coming to duos. It's going to stay exactly the same how it is. The devs have said the player population for it is healthy and they're happy with it how it is. Next up, we have progression. Legitimately any form of progression at all, from new badges to weapon mastery, maybe a legend mastery, something for the new game mode wildcard, as all the current badges are so outdated for it, challenges for it or something, but there is nothing coming progression wise in Season 27. And that takes us over to the next topic, ranked, because there's also no progression coming for ranked. The ranked rewards are staying exactly the same. No changes to them at all. Although they did mention and specifically say foreshadowing for future ranked rewards coming. Otherwise, the developer that I was speaking to about ranked said that there were 3 major issues with ranked that they were trying to address this season. The first issue was to do with drop zones and the different amount of loot that is at different POIs or drop zones. And it was unfair to certain players to an extent depending on what POI you got given during your drop zone, as some POIs had much better loot compared to others. So they've tried to lower the difference between the best loot and the worst loot to make it more even across the board. Next is changes to the RP system and exactly how much you gain for what you do. The devs spoke about how changes to RP is always going to be a consistent thing they're doing, and in recent seasons have been really trying to target the idea of inflated ranks so that people don't have ranks much higher than what they actually should be. And they feel they've seen quite good progress with this, saying that they think there's a lot less diamond players in diamond now that shouldn't be there, and their bell curve looks a lot better overall. Changes wise this season though for scoring in ranked, there's only one. Kill point RP is being increased in the form of how much you gain based on what position you get the kills at. And the final change coming to ranked is also a change coming to every game mode in Apex, a re-queue feature. If you're solo queuing your game and get some good teammates and want to re-queue with them for the next game, you can now press a button to do so, and if they press it as well, bang, you've now got teammates. Don't worry, the legend and insane map changes are coming soon, but first off, we have a change that is going to send Twitter into a meltdown. Yep, Twitter is about to absolutely and utterly explode with this one. And that is changes to movement. There is an inbuilt super glide feature coming to the game called Mantle Boost, not to be confused with the other movement tech called Mantle Jumping. This is very different and is extremely similar to a super glide. I'm going to quote exactly what the devs said here. The new Mantle Boost gives players a forward movement boost when climbing up from ledges or walls, helping legends dive into the next fight. And again, reading from what the devs have written here and their developer philosophy, Mantle Boosts have been in the game for some time, but the movement isn't easy to pull off and our player would never know about it with outside knowledge. We're adding a Mantle Boost indicator so players can easily see when and how to activate the high octane movement ability, opening up the mechanic and introducing new ways to play for a much wider base of players. Going to state this again just so everyone understands, no one's confused. This Mantle Boost is not a mantle jump. It has nothing to do with that. It is a super glide. It's what they're calling a super glide. And they're introducing their own easier, much more accessible version of a super glide into the game as a core mechanic. It'll work pretty much the same as a super glide currently does. When you climb any object and you get to the top of it, you're at the top of your mantle. If you press your jump, you will then get a speed boost forward, just like a super glide. When you're at the top of your mantle and the right time to press it in order to get the super glide boost forward, you will get a prompt on screen telling you to press it. And if you're too early or too late in pressing it, it will also tell you that on screen so you can get better at pressing it at the right time. When I was asking the devs about this, they also mentioned that a super glide and a mantle boost though won't be exactly the same. There will be a small difference between the two that the average player won't be able to notice, but a more experienced player will. and that there could or should be use cases where a super glide might be better than a mantle boost. I believe the ability to turn off this new mantle boosting will be available via a setting, along with lowering the UI on it if you don't like the UI they have, because the UI is pretty big from what I've been told. But yeah, this is going to send Twitter into a meltdown, and I do personally understand their idea of wanting to bring accessibility to movement to everyone, but I do think this was kind of a weird place to start, as a super glide was something that was available to every single input and every single platform of the game. And let's be real, not insanely hard to do. The devs 100% know and said this is going to be a hotly controversial change, but overall they believe it's going to be a net positive for the game and bring more people into the world of advanced movement. Still though, Twitter is going to be losing their mind. Now time for all the buffs, well, the main buffs and nerfs to the legends. And first off, we have Valkyrie. Valkyrie is about to be brought back into the forefront of Apex. The devs said that originally Valkyrie was revolutionary when she was launched, but over time the game's caught up with her, and she now has to compete against other things such as jump towers. And that her jetpack just isn't that great anymore and doesn't keep up with the current state of the game. So what have they actually done to her? Well, first off, her jetpack speed has been boosted, so it's now faster, and it recharges at 3 times the speed. So her fuel comes back 3 times faster. Her ultimate now takes a shorter amount of time to take off, and then there's her attack, which got a lot of changes. The missile swarm gains a lot of utility. There's 0 self-damage with it now, so you can't damage yourself. There's no height restrictions to being able to use it. It now scans enemies on hits and puts their passives on cooldown, the same way that a Watson Fence or Caustic Gas does. Yeah, Valk's going to be pretty strong, I think. Then there's also been changes with their perk upgrades. With these, you're now going to be able to expand the missile patterns, basically make them bigger. You're going to be able to reduce fuel consumption even more, and also improve the horizontal speed and boost of your ult. Alright, Rampart time. All you Rampart mains out there, you're about to enjoy this. Erased, I hope you're listening. Rampart's tactical, aka her walls, her amped cover, are getting quite a few changes. First off, her walls will now gain HP based on your Evo level. So as you level your Evo shield up, her walls will become stronger. They now also grant speed boost and include a roof. Yes, you read and heard that correctly. They now have a roof. You can see it here in this image on screen. So it's not the biggest roof in the entire world, not the same size as the vertical wall, but still going to have a lot of use case where it could be extremely useful. Then perk-wise, there's going to be changes made so that you can now have faster reloads, over to having infinite ammo when shooting from behind your amped cover, and even regenerate the wall health when outside of combat. To any Rampart mains out there, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. And now here's the big one. This one has the potential to be insanely game-changing. All the console kill grinders out there, Horizon mains, you guys are about to be in luck. These are the Horizon changes, the massive Horizon changes. So her tactical, her grav lift now has a shorter cooldown and lift speed improvements. We didn't get exactly the information on what those are, but I'm gonna believe it means you just go up it faster. Your ultimate now also has more HP. Decent changes, don't get me wrong, but not as insane as these ones. These come to her upgrades. I'm assuming by that they mean her perks. And her goal with this was to create more opportunities for aerial movement. So you're now going to be able to fast fall by crouching when you're in mid-air, or glide out of a gravity lift for extended aerial control. And also gain bonus charge to your tactical, your grav lift, on knockdowns. Don't get me wrong, this is definitely not, Season 7 Horizon with unlimited grav lifts sitting on top of it with 100% accuracy, but I mean, just reading these, she sounds like she's going to be pretty strong. Let me know in the comments below. What do you guys think? Is Horizon about to be a problem again? Let me know. Alright, weapon changes time. The information we have here is kind of limited, as we don't have access to patch notes yet, so all we know is a little bit of information we've been given, but the goal of this season is to promote close quarter combat and SMGs while taking away from marksmen. So you might see some nerfs to marksman weapons. And talking about buffs to SMGs, the alternator. It's getting a new, old perk, double tap. So if you didn't know, the alternator is called the alternator because it has 2 barrels at the front and it alternates which barrel it shoots from. If you notice, when you shoot, the cartridges will come out the side, on each side, one by one, because it's alternating. With this hop up though, it will shoot both at the same time. So in theory, that means double the fire rate, double the DPS, and half the time to kill. Apart from this though, the only other real change we know coming to the weapons is that of the PK. When I was talking to the devs, I asked them, PK is still ridiculously OP, are you guys gonna nerf it? They said, yes, we've been continuously nerfing it and we understand it's still too strong, it will be getting nerfed again. And now finally the new map. Well, I guess Olympus remade, because there are so goddamn many changes coming to Olympus. This map basically is a completely new map. Here's the top-down view of old Olympus and the new Olympus that's coming. As you can see, there are so many new POIs, new rotations, and things changed. Docks is now called Stabilizer, Energy Depot is called Gravity Engine, Orbital Cannon's now named after Horizon, and Elysium seems to be on the wrong side of the map. Hell, on the left side of the map, there's even a brand new POI called Dockyard. And along with this, so many other POIs that have stayed the same name have gotten upgrades and changes to them. For example, Rift, Waterfall, Hammond Labs, and so many more have so many changes, I'll take you guys all over. So the first of the many changes to Olympus, and the biggest, or maybe not the biggest, but definitely a big change, is going to be that of Orbital Cannon. It has been completely reworked. Orbital Cannon is gone. And it's been replaced with Summer's University. If you don't know who Summer is, that's Horizon. This is her university, and there's a bunch of lore that goes with that as well, but I'll put that at the very end of the video. There'll be all the lore stuff at the end. The reasons for getting rid of Orbital Cannon were pretty obvious, but low drop rate, basically no one went there early game, and then late game, if that's where the zone went and you had to rotate there, it was honestly really bad to rotate into. It had the walls around it with all the high ground making rotates in hard. It was really hard to coexist with other teams in there. Plus, of course, what used to be a big feature of all of Olympus, the open ground around it, once again making it hard to push in there. And as you can see with the new POI, Summer's University, they changed that. They built the POI closer to the rotation entrances so that, it's easier to rotate into and there's more access to get into without having to cross a big open field. The entrances as well are more protected. You'll notice this as a common theme going around looking at all the POI changes. When having an entrance into a POI, they tried to make the line of sight to that not as big as it used to be. Whether that's covered with walls, trees, buildings, etc., the goal is to make it so there's not an ultimate amount of high ground looking towards the entrances so that it's more protected and players can make their way in. And then once you're in there, as you can see, there is a lot more cover, more buildings, absolutely everything, so that people can coexist. Most of the buildings and shapes in this POI are based off a triangular design, and that's because of, well, Horizon's new. If you look smack bang in the middle of the POI, you'll even see a structure that's meant to look like Horizon's Newt, by the way, on top of that has god tier loot. And you will also notice grav lifts. Yes, Horizon's grav lifts. This is not just a feature of this POI, but all of the new POIs and changes coming to this map. Horizon's grav lifts are everywhere. They're a direct 1v1 copy of Horizon's grav lift and placed all around the map to help you guys traverse the areas and take high ground. Also, as I'm sure many of you guys noticed, in the back right corner of Summer's University, there's Elysium. Yep, that's right. Elysium has been removed. It is completely gone off the other side of the map and moved over here. The reasoning for this was basically the devs want this to be one of the hot spots of the map. They want people to think, oh, I can go here. It's going to be fun, exciting, and high kill games can happen here. As for Elysium itself, from what I can see and what I've been told, it's exactly the same as it was before. The next POI getting the complete rework is one of the most central POIs, Energy Depot. It's been changed to Gravity Engine and is now one of the biggest POIs on all of Olympus. When the developer was talking to us, he brought up that there was two major issues with Energy Depot. First off, that the roof hid most of the landing spots or most of the POI, making the experience for new players especially really bad when they didn't know where loot was or where to fly in there to go to land somewhere safe, and that the rotates through or around Energy Depot were honestly just really bad. He brought up that if you were in the center of the map and the zone was pulling more towards Rift or over towards Docks, that you had to basically go through Energy Depot if you wanted to get there efficiently, and due to the size of it plus the limited pathways in it, if there was a team in there, you basically had to fight them to get through there and there was no way to rotate past, unless of course you wanted to go a long way around. So the changes were targeted at fixing those. They include new rotation paths and now a massive new POI called Gravity Engine. As you can see, there's no more major roofs over it. They're all open, the landing zones are clear, the loot's clear where it is, and there's a lot of different landing spots for a lot of people. That's because they noticed that there was a big issue with Olympus, that there wasn't many hot drops and places for people to drop to get massive kill games, as I mentioned before, and as this was in the center of the map, they wanted this to be one of those places. Especially the center of the POI that you can see, that is a combination of horizon lifts, zip lines, and a lot of verticality. They mentioned the goal of the whole POI, especially the center part, is to empower creativity, especially for those players that love movement and have really good game sense. They actually love the layout of these buildings here they have in the center so much that they've used them elsewhere at other parts of the map as well that we'll get to later. As I'm sure you've all noticed as well, it is floating in the air as it's Olympus, and there is a lot of area where you can fall off the map here, but there has been a change to that. There is now an updraft added around a lot of POIs, including this one, that have open area directly below where you fight. So if you jump off the map here, you'll just float up in the air like you have on Broken Moon. So not only is this POI now massive, but there are new rotations being added around the sides as well. For example, we now have a rotation that goes directly from this POI through to the little tunnel that goes into Turbine, along with a hell of a lot of more playable areas out on the sides that have little bits of verticality to them and lots of cover. Then some of the existing rotations that were already there, so for example, going up to Gardens, how there used to be that little stairway to go up, they've added a little zip line on the side to that because they realized that, only being able to go up the stairs was too much of a choke point, so they added the zip line that you can go up as well. And it's been moved slightly closer to Gardens so that there's less open area you have to cross directly to get to it. Lots and lots of little things like that, but the devs said they were really hyped about this new POI and they are genuinely most excited to see how it plays out. Alright, the next POI getting a major change, full rework, is going to be Docks. It's going to be turned into Stabilizer. The major issue the devs brought up with Docks was basically the oppressive high ground that it provided for everything around it. So that rotating or pushing into it was basically impossible if there was already a team or two set up in there. And then on top of that, they also didn't like the open or unused space at the back of Docks. That, there was a little ring around the back with a few buildings and some loot. like the old gold bin that we used to have, but apart from that, it was never really used, even when there were late games at docks. In order to combat that and bring it in line with their ideas of making the map more competitive, as we spoke about earlier, the first thing they did was lower the new POI more to the ground to reduce its height. As you can see in the before and after images, it's definitely lowered, and the POI does look different, but the overall shape of the POI itself is pretty similar to how docks originally was. So lowering it has helped remove the insane high ground that you'd have in anyone trying to come up and into docks. Then they've also put things like walls around the sides on rotations or pathways into docks to help cut the line of sight and let people move more freely into the POI. Along with this, there has been lots, and I mean lots of little bits of cover placed all around the front of the POI, including the trench that you guys can play in. The idea is to obviously remove the mass open ground that used to be there, minus a couple of ships. So as I feel like I've said a million times, you can rotate better into it and move around better without just getting beamed while in the open. But they did also try and make these trenches plus objects not like crazy good cover so that you couldn't just stay there and play that, but more use it as a way to weave through and rotate to where you actually want to be instead of making it more of a playable position. As for the POI itself, now called Stabilizer, like I said, they kept the rough shape of docks, but they changed a lot to do with it. So at the back, where that ring was, they brought that closer into the POI itself, so it's more close to the action. They've made it more accessible with things like grav lifts and zip lines, and they've also given it a small increase in height above the rest of the POI, so it gives a bit more of a playable position or even a strong position if there's an end zone there, or maybe for an early fight. It gives the ability to rotate around the back, etc. As for the POI as a whole, the big thing they mentioned was the fact that they had a lot of zip lines and grav lifts on it so that you could, I guess, travel across it really fast and cleanly, but it still has a lot of different playable areas where teams can coexist and chill in. And finally, the last part about this POI, so I actually think is really cool. There's little floating bits of like the map or the island from below, which you can jump on and move across from. With these as well, it also has the updraft below them, so if you do fall in, for example, you can just float back up. Although, that is only around the center of the POI. If, for example, you try and jump off the back, you will literally fall off the map, so don't try and catch an updraft up there, or maybe you can portal people off back there. Now we have a new POI that's been added. This has increased the POI count on Olympus from 21 up to 22. This is over next to where Elysium used to be, in between Elysium down the hill, kind of towards the States. There was a little camp of buildings there where you can take the tunnel going underground. That has been changed and reworked into its own POI, now called Dockyard. Overall goal from the devs was just to fill up some space that wasn't really used, I guess, efficiently, add an extra POI, as that's always good to have more options in competitive play, and they felt it just helped the overall flow of the map, having it there. You'll actually notice some cargo containers here as well. These, if you're an early game Apex player, when Olympus first came out in Season 7, were from where Fight Night is. There used to be those there. And I actually love those, so I'm super glad to have them back. I think they just genuinely look really cool. You'll also notice those buildings that we had in the middle back from Gravity Engine. They're over here now as well. The one with the Horizon tacticals going up it and the zip lines that's going to be really fun to play around in. So that's cool. That's all of the huge, like, massive changes to POIs or brand new POIs being put into the game, but there are still so many more changes coming to POI, so I'm going to go through them kind of fast. First off, we have Hammond Labs. Hammond Labs has a lot of changes coming to it. Everyone knows the cliff at Hammond Labs with the little buildings on top of it and how strong it is. Once you're up there, pushing that is just hard. It's impossible. It is like the ultimate strong point. So the cliffs are no longer a hard drop off. They've been built up, or I guess you could say slope down now. Those slopes as well have cover on them, so you can push up them, whether the cover is like a little bit built out like ledge of the slope, whether it's a rock, a tree, there is heaps of cover to help push up them. Then under that, there is a new little tunnel systems, new rotations put in there with ones that were already there. And these offer an insane amount of new playable space and a heap new rotates out to the sides. Basically, you can get further out to the sides, closer to the areas you probably are rotating to, while not being able to be seen from high points around them. But even with all these additions, their goal was still to keep the waterfall as a power point, a strong point, just not one that was completely unpushable and unbeatable. Hammond Labs and the inside of Hammond Labs itself seems to be completely the same, but out the back of it, there is a big brand new balloon that's going to help fast rotate. But they said the main goal for this balloon and having it there was so that if there was a team holding the phase runner choke point up the hill, you could just fly over and fly past them. And now just imagine you are flying over the phase runner portal entrance. There used to be that big hole down there at the bottom where you could just fall off the edge, or you could drive the tridents over the little ramps and go from side to side. That has now been changed. Remember those red buildings where there was the zip lines and the Horizon tacticals that the devs were so hyped about that they put it in multiple places across the map? There is a variation of that there now floating over the ground. I think it's a slightly bigger one compared to the other ones, but it looks like it could be a really fun POI to fight in, not gonna lie. From there, we can jump over to Grow Towers, and one of the Grow Towers is gone. Yes, that's right, the third Grow Tower, the one that was furthest in closest to the back of the map, is now completely gone. The devs basically said, once that you had teams in all the Grow Towers, it basically acted as a wall that was super hard to rotate past, rotate through, or just get into the POI of Grow Towers. So they've removed the third one and replaced it with a big trench plus some underground tunnels and a bunch of new buildings. As has been every other time, their goal has been to make more playable space, make rotations easier plus safer. With this, they've also put a massive balloon smack bang right there as well. Their reasoning for this was basically rotating up from Grow Towers towards gardens or clinic can be ridiculously hard sometimes, and it is a pretty easy choke point to hold no matter what they did to it. So adding the balloon here will always give you an option to take it up, even if it is sometimes risky to take a balloon. I did ask them if adding all these new balloons was going to make rotations a little bit too fast and quick on the map, and they said that is something they did worry about a little and will be keeping track of to potentially change if that happens. Now, Rift time, and Rift's actually had quite a few changes. The devs said on the old Rift that basically all of the endgames were decided or happened around the high ground, because it was such a strong high ground, especially with pushing up to it. It was basically impossible to push up to it because you had to take a zip line over towards it, and there was no real playable cover to get up there. So what they've done is they've changed the big sucky hole in the middle to be different now. It no longer sucks. Well, it does suck, but just not very strong anymore. It doesn't suck you in from miles away. In order to get sucked in by it, you have to basically take a grav lift all the way up to it and touch it before it'll suck you through. But along with this, it's been lifted up into the air a bit more, and there is now a lot of buildings and a little building structure there, I should say, with some big walls around it. The walls are trying to stop line of sight from high ground all around it to give you some more playable space. And the goal of the buildings is just to give you more areas to play, plus give you a way to attempt to contest high ground or a way to move up towards high ground if needed. Now, imagine we're leaving Rift, going up towards, the clinic or garden side, going up that big, steep ramp. That ramp was basically a death trap. If you tried to go up that, you would just get absolutely obliterated because there was no cover on it. So they've added cover to that ramp, which is super nice. And you will notice that around the map as a whole, there has been cover added everywhere. If there wasn't a new POI or a new, settlement of buildings added somewhere to supply that cover, there's basically been trees, rocks, hedges, or something added so that there is constant cover and not this endless open ground that you may have to cross at certain points in time. But if we go from that bridge I was just talking about to the left of it, imagine you look at clinic, then you go to the left of it. There used to be a couple of round buildings down there and a little walkway you could walk along with a bunch of trees in between that and Rift. Well, that's been changed completely now. It is now its own little miniature POI. They wanted to say that this wasn't a proper POI, but it was like a mini one in their eyes. As all the other POIs, it has a bunch of horizon grav lifts in it so you can travel up it faster. It's got a lot of covers with a lot of buildings, a lot of corners. It's got a bunch of zip lines to go from height to height and everything like that. As always, playable space, rotates, more cover. Now, I'm sure there is probably a couple of other small changes to the map somewhere that we didn't see or that didn't take us through, but that is probably going to be 99% of the changes to the map. There is going to be so much to learn, so much to see, so many new POIs, new rotates. It's going to be absolutely insane. The devs spoke to us about their overall goal for all these changes, and basically they wanted to give players the ability to engage fights in the way they want it. They didn't want players to, feel forced to take only close range fights or feel forced to take only long range fights, which was a big thing on Olympus. And now players can kind of take them on their own merit and how they want them with a lot of different options. And one of the lead devs, then I believe it was Michael Shannon, also said that his goal with Olympus, as he was the main person that worked on all of these changes, was basically that people wouldn't skip it when it was, ranked Olympus Day. Fingers crossed for that, especially seems that KC is not getting any changes this update because basically the devs said they can only do so much at a time. And they did allude to the idea that KC will be getting changed in the future though. So we may still be skipping KC Day, but hey, maybe Olympus will be playable. And now we have some changes coming to Wildcard. There will be the Supersonic event taking place from November 18th to December 16th. It'll be on a new and updated Olympus. Yes, that's right, a new updated Olympus based off the Olympus we're about to show you and about to get now. It's going to be updated more, obviously, with the same things that KC got, more ziplines, grav lifts, etc., etc. There will be a mythic R99 that borrows Valkyrie's missile swarm ability. Yes, that's right, you're going to be able to shoot missile swarms out of your R99. And it also provides extra movement on zip lines and gives you speed boosts along with other things like that. In order to shoot these missile swarms out of your R9, you'll have to build up heat on it by doing damage, and then once you build up enough heat, you should be able to shoot them out or unleash the missile swarm, as they put it. There's also going to be new wildcard upgrades. First off, we have burning rubber, which leaves fire trails that burn enemies in your wake behind you. Then we have Extra Zippy, great name, refuels your shield and speed boost on zip lines and zip rails. We have Eyes in the Sky, which will highlight enemies while you're airborne or on the ground with it. Then there's one called Get Up and Go, which grants speed bursts after clutch revives, along with another one called Along for the Slide, which gives you faster and longer slides. And yes, of course, as you would expect, with a big event, there's going to be a new heirloom, which will be dual katanas. Yes, that's right, dual katanas, along with legendary skins for Horizon, Crypto, Sparrow, Mirage, Catalyst plus matching weapon skins, etc., etc. in this Supersonic event. Dual katanas. Crazy. Holy moly, that's a lot. So, yeah, that is basically everything coming in Season 27 of Apex. Well, that we know of so far anyway, and it is a lot. We basically got a whole new map. Don't get me wrong, I know it's Olympus, but damn, that thing looks brand new. The new POIs look insane. I'm so keen to play it. I'm not sure about the movement changes. I'm not sure about the rank changes. I'm going to be honest, I probably wouldn't have made those ones, but gotta see how they play out. As always, thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think of everything happening. If you're going to buy Apex coins or the Battle Pass, don't forget to use code BIRNO to help support me and enter yourself into all my giveaways and YouTube videos. Information on how to do that will be in the description. So check that out. Keep being awesome, keep being amazing, and I'll see you guys again soon.